mysterious traveler.
This is the mysterious traveler, inviting you to join me on another journey into the realm of the strange and terrifying. I hope you will enjoy this little trip, that it will thrill you a little and chill you a little. So settle back, get a good grip on your nerves. But where are we going? We're going to delve into the life of a frightened man in a tale titled The Queen of the Cats. Some years ago, when I was practicing medicine, I was called upon by a young girl of 22 or so. As she was shown into my office, I could see that she was having a difficult time suppressing her agitation. Her lips trembled as she spoke.
Dr. Smith, my name is Jane Elliott. I have an appointment with you.
Yes, Miss Elliott. Won't you be seated, please?
Thank you.
Now, what seems to be the trouble, Miss Elliott? You're trembling. You don't look well at all.
I'm not ill, Doctor. It's Chris Arnold, my fiancé. Oh, Doctor, you've got to help him. If you don't, something terrible will happen.
Well, I'll do everything I can, Miss Elliott. Now, tell me what's wrong.
I don't know what's wrong. All I know is that Chris is frightened. He's in deadly fear of something.
Has he told you what it is that frightens him?
No, I've questioned him countless times, but he refuses to tell me.
I see. Where is your fiancé now?
At his home, Brookfield Manor. Oh, Doctor, I know it's late, but won't you come with me and see Chris? He needs help desperately.
There, Miss Elliott. You mustn't cry. Of course I'll come with you. And I'll do what I can.
Who is it?
Chris, it's Jane.
Just a minute. Jane, I've asked you before not to... Who's he?
Darling, this is Dr. Smith. Doctor, this is my fiancé, Chris Arnold.
How do you do, Mr. Arnold?
Why the devil did you bring him? I don't need a doctor.
Please, darling, I just couldn't stand
Forgive
to
me,
see
Mr.
you.
Arnold, but it's obvious to the most untrained eye. You do need a doctor.
Please, Chris, tell the doctor what you're afraid of.
I'm not afraid of anything.
Oh, darling, please tell him, please. You can't go on this way.
Yes, you're right. I can't go on this way. If I don't tell someone, I'll go mad.
Believe me, Mr. Arnold, you'll feel much better once you've talked your fears out. Now, suppose you start from the beginning and tell me everything.
All right, Doctor. Come on in. I suppose it all began 2 years ago at a party Jane and I were invited to.
Oh, Chris, isn't this a wonderful party?
The only thing wonderful about it is you.
Oh, Chris, don't. People are watching.
Oh, a fine thing when a man can't kiss his best girl in public. What's this generation coming to, anyway?
At Miss Tyndall's school, we were taught a young lady never kisses a man in public.
Miss Tyndall is setting romance back 50 years. Who are you looking for, anyway?
Rana Farouk, my roommate at Miss Tyndall's.
Oh, yes, she's the Egyptian girl you were telling me about.
Yes, I want you to meet her. Only you better not fall in love with her as every other man does.
Sounds as though she's a second Cleopatra.
Men just can't seem to be able to resist her.
Well, I'm curious to see this siren of the Nile.
Oh, there she is, Chris. Come on.
So that's Rana. No wonder men can't resist her.
Hello, Jane. I've missed you.
Rana, this is Chris Arnold. Chris, this is Rana Farouk.
Hello, Chris.
Hello, Rana.
Oh, look, there's Miss Tyndall waving to me. Excuse me, won't you?
Of course, Jane.
I'll be back in a minute.
You know, Chris, at Miss Tyndall's, the first thing I'd see in the morning when I got up, and the last thing before I went to bed was your picture. And I always knew that someday we should meet. And now we have. Why are you staring at me like that? Aren't you going to say anything?
I prefer just to look. Even now, Doctor, 2 years after our first meeting, I find it difficult to describe how beautiful Rana was. She had lustrous black hair that came down to her shoulders and sparkling green eyes that bewitched you. No words can do her beauty justice. I was captivated the moment I saw her.
I see. What happened after that first meeting?
Rana seemed also attracted to me. After that night, we saw each other constantly.
You did?
Nothing seemed to matter to me when I was with her. And it made me indescribably happy to learn she felt the same way. A month after we'd met, we were married.
Please go on, Mr. Arnold.
After we were married, we took an apartment in town. In the months that followed, I began to see Rana not as the image I'd been infatuated with, but as she really was, vain, selfish, and possessive. It was a possessiveness verging on madness. She couldn't bear to have me out of her sight, and when I was, upon my return, there would be questions, countless questions. I began to dread seeing her. And then there were the cats.
The cats?
Yes. She had an insane passion for them.
Yes, when Rana and I were at school together, Doctor, she always had a few cats around. She said that she couldn't live without
The apartment
them.
was always full of cats. She'd sit for hours stroking them, whispering to them until I felt I'd go mad. Life became a nightmare for me, a nightmare full of cats. And Rana asking questions, endless questions. One day, I realized I couldn't go on living with her any longer, that our marriage had been a mistake. I decided to tell her about it that very evening. May I come in, Rana?
Of course, dear.
Rana, there's something important I want to talk to you about.
Oh, please, Chris. There's so little time just now. We can talk later after the party.
But, Rana, this is important. I think that...
Darling, whatever you have to say can wait. Now, please hurry.
But... Well, all right. We'll discuss what I have to say later.
Chris, when I called you at the office this afternoon, why didn't you tell me that you had had lunch with Mary Walker?
What? How did you know I had lunch with her?
Oh, a friend told me.
A friend? Who was it?
What is it, my beauty? What are you trying to say?
Rana, put that cat down and answer me. Who was the friend that told you I had lunch with Mary Walker?
You have never met her, darling.
How is it that you always know what I've been doing, whom I've been seeing? It's as though you have people spying on me.
Chris, what a thing to say. Now, please hurry or we'll be late.
There's something strange about the way you always know what I've been doing. Sometimes I suspect...
Chris, look out. You've stepped on Sabina's tail.
I'm sorry, but I didn't see it.
I've asked you before to be more careful. Poor Sabina. Are you all right now, my beauty?
If there weren't so many cats underfoot, I wouldn't have stepped on her. Why must you have 5 cats around?
Because I love cats. They're beautiful, sacred. Thousands of years ago, my ancestors worshipped cats. And the great cat goddess Sekhmet. On the river Nile, close by the ancient city of Hamadi, where I was born, are the graves of 100,000 sacred cats. They have been mummified and buried with reverence.
Rana, I can't go on like this anymore.
Why, darling, what do you mean?
I feel our marriage was a mistake. I want a divorce.
Chris, you can't be serious.
But I am.
I love you, Chris, and I won't give you up. You're mine, darling. You always will be. Nothing shall ever separate us.
Would you care for a cocktail, sir?
No, thank you.
Well, even if you won't have one, Mr. Arnold, I will.
Jane, it's good to see you again. Just let me look at you.
Chris, you're not looking well at all. Are you all right?
I am now. Jane, can't we go someplace and talk? What about the terrace?
All right, Chris.
Here, this door opens onto it. Yeah, this is much better. It's been quite some time since we've seen each other, hasn't it?
Yes, the last time we saw each other was the night that...
The night that I met Rana.
Yes. How is Rana, Chris?
Oh, She's fine. Jane, I've made such a mess out of everything. I was a fool to have married her.
Please, Chris, you mustn't talk like that.
But I was a fool, Jane. Mistaking infatuation for love. Can you ever forgive me for the way I behaved toward you?
There's nothing to forgive, Chris.
Well, Jane, this is a surprise.
Rana.
Hello, Rana.
Really, Jane, the way you've avoided calling on us, I half suspect you are still in love with Chris.
Rana, you had no right to talk to her like that.
Please, Chris, I'm afraid I'll have to be leaving. It's getting quite late. Good night.
Good night, Jane.
I hope I didn't interrupt anything by coming out here so unexpectedly, Chris.
Yes, Rana, you did. I was about to tell Jane that I love her, and that I always will.
I suppose that's why you asked me for a divorce. You've been secretly seeing her.
Secretly seeing her? Is it possible for me to see anyone or do anything secretly without your knowing about it?
No, you are quite right. It is not possible. I know everything you do. So I would forget Jane if I were you.
Rana, how can you possibly want me? Knowing how I feel about Jane. You've got to give me a divorce.
I'll never give you a divorce. Never. Do you hear? You're mine. You always will be.
Yes? Well, what's to prevent me from leaving you?
Wherever you go, Chris, I'll follow. If I can't have you, no one else ever will. Remember, Chris, you're mine. You always will be.
I can still see her, Doctor, as she stood there screaming at me. Remember, Chris, you're mine, and you always will be. It was a shock to suddenly realize that she looked like a cat, an angry cat. Her green eyes, cold and murderous, her long nails digging into my arms, her body tense. For a moment, I thought she was going to scratch my eyes out.
Yes, Rana did look like that when she was in a rage.
What happened after that night, Mr. Arnold?
I stopped speaking to Rana. We lived in the same apartment, but that was all. Weeks passed, and Rana waited for me to come around, as she felt certain I would.
Yes.
She had all the patience of a cat playing with a mouse. But when a month had passed and I still refused to talk to her, she made an attempt to win me back. It happened one night as we were driving to this house. Why are you slowing down, Rana?
I want to talk to you, Chris, and I can't talk to you while I'm driving.
There's no point in your stopping. We have nothing to say to each other.
Oh, but we do, darling. Chris, we could be so happy together if you wanted to. You know how much I love you.
It's a possessive love that smothers me to death.
Chris, you know that isn't true. I could make you happy if you don't let me. Oh, please don't turn away from me, Chris. I'll do anything to make you happy. Anything.
Anything? And you can give me a divorce.
So you're still thinking of her, hoping I'll give you a divorce so you can marry her. Well, I won't. Do you hear? I won't.
I think we'd better be moving along.
Chris, you haven't any right to treat me like this. I'm your wife.
Only in the eyes of the law, not in my eyes.
I hate you. I hate you!
You cat! You almost took out my eyes with those claws of yours.
I will scratch your eyes out before I let any other woman have you. You're mine. You always will be.
Perhaps this will bring you to your senses. Slide over. I'll drive.
Very well, Chris. You think you've beaten me, Chris. But you haven't. In the end, you'll come crawling to me. It may take a year, 2 years, 5 years. But I can wait.
I'll never come crawling to you. Never.
But you will, Chris. Jane knows I'll never give you your freedom. In time, she'll marry. And when she does, all the heart will be gone out of you. Then you'll be mine.
That'll never happen.
But it will, Chris. And deep down in your heart, you know I'm right. Jane will never be yours. I'll see to that.
You have everything planned perfectly, Rana, don't you? But I have one way of escape from you that you've never thought of.
Really? And what way is that?
I can escape through death.
Death?
Yes, Rana. If I should fail to take the curve 100 yards ahead, we'd plunge off the side of this mountain.
Chris, you would.
Why not, Rana? You've shown me there's nothing to live for. This at least is a clean way out.
No! Chris, don't! No!
drove the car over the side of the mountain, Doctor. I thought Rana and I were going to our deaths. But fate decreed otherwise. When I recovered consciousness 48 hours later in a hospital, I learned it was only Rana who died.
Yes, I recall reading about it in the papers. It was a miracle that you survived.
Yes. For weeks, they despaired of saving me. But at the end of 8 months, I walked out of that hospital. The police believed my story that it was an accident. And I was free to begin a new life. It was just a week after I was discharged from the hospital that I ran into Jane.
Chris! Oh, Chris, it's you.
Janie, you always seem to pop up just when I need you most.
Chris, you look so much older. Are you all right?
And my heart isn't any too good, but otherwise I'm fine. And seeing you again is just what I need to put me on my feet.
These past months must have been so difficult for you.
I don't want to look back to the past, Jane, but only to the future. The future I once hoped we'd share, and still do. 2 months ago, Doctor, Jane and I became engaged. It was just about that time that I first began to notice that everywhere I went, there always seemed to be a cat following me.
Are you sure you weren't imagining it, Mr. Arnold?
At first, I thought it was my imagination. But a week after Jane and I became engaged, I was certain I was being followed.
Yeah. Tell me, Mr. Arnold, was it always the same cat that followed you?
No. One day it'd be one cat, and another day a different one. Oh, I know you must think I'm mad, Doctor. And at the time, I felt I was going mad. That is, until that night.
What night, Mr. Arnold?
The night I saw her. It happened in this very room 6 weeks ago. I had great difficulty in falling asleep that night. Suddenly, the silence was broken by the faint crying of a cat. The crying grew louder and louder. I lay in the darkness listening, realizing that the cat crying was real, living, and in my room. I could feel my heart pounding as I sat up in bed and looked about my darkened room. And then suddenly I saw her. 2 burning green eyes in the darkness. There was no mistaking those eyes. They were Rana's. I stared into those eyes for what seemed like hours. Then, as though listening to a stranger's voice, I heard myself speak. Rana. It is you, Rana, isn't it? Yes. I'd recognize those green eyes anywhere. So you've come back, and in the form I've always thought of you, as a cat. I know why you've come back. It's because of Jane. You always said that if you couldn't have me, no one else could. That I was yours, and always would be. Well, you're wrong, do you hear? Jane and I are going to be married. You came between us once, but you aren't going to this time. I will marry you, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. You fiend! Trying to scratch my eyes out. Well, we'll see about that. There. Perhaps that'll show you that nothing you can do will stop me from marrying her. I know that all those cats that were following me, spying on me, were doing so under your orders. You're the queen of the cats. Yes, I should have known. No wonder you always knew where I'd been, who I'd seen. You had your cats spying on me even then. Well, even if you are the queen of the cats, you can't prevent me from marrying Jane. Perhaps a bullet between those green eyes of yours is what's needed. I emptied the gun at her, Doctor, and then turned on the lights. There was no sign of her. She'd vanished. All that I found were those 6 bullet holes in the wall.
Tell me, Mr. Arnold, isn't it possible that you only dreamed all that? That actually you fired the gun in your sleep and the shots themselves wakened you?
I tried to tell myself that, Doctor. But during the nights that followed, I knew it was not a dream. For night after night, she appeared in my room. I'd lie awake, waiting to hear her footsteps, her voice. And when she would appear, I'd plead with her to leave me alone. But she'd only stare at me with those burning green eyes, waiting. I knew she'd never leave me alone as long as I intended to marry Jane. Finally, I could stand it no longer, and I went to see Jane.
Chris, this is a surprise. Come in, darling.
Thank you, Jane.
Oh, well, where have you been keeping yourself this past week? I was beginning to believe I was being jilted.
Jane, there's something I want to ask you.
Yes, Chris, of course. What is it?
I know we set our wedding for next week, but couldn't we put it off for a while? Just a little while.
Darling, what is it? There's something wrong. I know there is. Please tell me.
I wish I could, but I can't. Please, Jane, just have faith in me. You know I wouldn't postpone our marriage if I could possibly help it.
All right, Chris, I do have faith in you. We'll consider our marriage postponed for the time being.
The night I put off my marriage to Jane, Doctor, was the first night that Rana didn't appear. And the first night in a week that I'd been able to sleep.
You think, Mr. Arnold, that she didn't appear again because you would postpone your marriage to Jane?
I know it. Weeks went by, weeks in which I was able to sleep soundly without being awakened by her. And I came to think that perhaps it had all been part of a horrible nightmare, and that I was over it at last. A week ago, I asked Jane to set the date for our wedding. She did so. And that same day, we took out a marriage license. But that night, she appeared again. Her eyes shining in the dark, cold and murderous. She knew about the license. That's why she returned.
And you've seen her again?
Yes, every night. She just keeps staring at me with those green eyes, waiting. She's determined not to give me any rest. I tell myself that I mustn't be afraid, but I keep hearing her voice over and over. If I can't have you, no one else will. You're mine, and you always will be.
Oh, Chris, darling, I wish I had known all this before.
You feel, Mr. Arnold, that somehow she'll prevent you from marrying Jane, huh?
I know I sound mad, but I do. I have a feeling something horrible will happen if I attempt to marry her.
Do you still have the marriage license?
Yes. Why do you ask?
Mr. Arnold, you've reached a crisis in your life. You're faced with fears that are threatening to overwhelm your sanity. The only way for you to challenge your fears is to go through with your marriage to Jane now, tonight.
Tonight?
Yes. It's quite late, but I'm sure a friend of mine who's a judge will marry you.
Get married tonight?
If you hesitate, you're lost. Your only chance is to face your fears.
All right, Doctor. All right. Jane, will you marry me tonight?
Oh, yes, Chris. Yes.
I'm sorry to get you up in the middle of the night, Judge, but for reasons I can't explain, it's important that these two be married tonight.
That's quite all right, Doc. Always glad to oblige a friend. Have you got the license and the ring, young man?
Yes, sir. Here's the license and the ring.
Now, young man, if you'll take her right hand. That's it. Now, shall I give you the long ceremony or the short one?
The short one, please.
Just as you say, young lady. This is the shortest one I've got. Do you, Jane Elliott, take this man to be your lawful wedded husband, to love, honor, and obey as long as ye both shall live?
I do.
Do you, Christopher Arnold, take this woman to be your lawful wedded wife, to love, honor, and cherish as long as you both shall live?
It's she. It's Rana.
Chris, please, it's only a black cat. You mustn't pay any attention to it.
Of course not. Now,
It's Rana, I tell you. Look at her eyes. I told you she was trying to prevent my marrying Jane. Well, I'll get rid of her once and for all.
Chris, what are you doing with that gun? Put it down.
She got away. Well, wherever she's gone, I'll find her and kill her.
Chris, come back. Oh, Doctor, where can he be?
Now, Jane, he can't be far off. We'll find him.
Oh,
Listen.
Doctor, that must be Chris firing that gun.
Come on. Those shots came from close by.
Hurry!
We better take it easy now, Doc. It's pretty dark out here.
Wait a moment, I'll light my cigarette lighter.
Doc! Look, a dead cat!
Yes. It was shot through the head.
Say, look. Here's another one that's been shot to death.
Neither one of them is the black cat.
Say, Doc, isn't that a body over there?
Chris!
No, Jane, you stay with the judge while I look.
All right, Doctor.
There, miss. You mustn't cry.
This never would have happened if I hadn't agreed to bury him. He was afraid. So afraid.
Doc, is it Arnold?
Yes. Yes, it's he.
He's dead, isn't he? I can see it in your face.
Yes, Jane. He's dead.
But, Doc, what happened to him?
He's been clawed to bits, as if by hundreds of cats. And most horrible of all, his eyes have been scratched out. This is the mysterious traveler again. Have you enjoyed our little trip into the life, or should I say, death of a frightened man? Strangely enough, 2 days later, at Chris Arnold's funeral, just as the coffin was being lowered into the grave, the mourners suddenly noticed a black cat with green eyes sitting on the edge of the grave, quietly licking its paws. By the way, I trust you haven't a cat in your home, particularly a black one. I once knew a woman, she's dead now, who had a... Oh, you're getting off at the next stop, huh? I'm sorry. Perhaps you'll join me again soon. I take this same train every week at the same time.
You have just heard Chapter 31 of The Mysterious Traveler, a series of dramas of the strange and terrifying. In today's story, Queen of the Cats, Staats Cotsworth played Chris, Sarah Burton played Rana, and Sandra Gould played Jane. The Mysterious Traveler is written by Bob Arthur and David Kogan, and original music was played by Doc Whipple. The entire production was under the direction of Jock McGregor. Listen next week to a tale titled
Broadway, Here I Come.
Another Tale of the Mysterious Traveler. The Mysterious Traveler is presented by WOR Mutual from the WOR studios in New York. It is presented over most of these stations every Sunday afternoon at 3:30.
This is Mutual. The Mysterious Traveler.
This is the Mysterious Traveler, inviting you to join me on another journey into the realm of the strange and the terrifying. I hope you will enjoy the trip, that it will thrill you a little and chill you a little. So settle back, get a good grip on your nerves, and be comfortable, if you can. Where are we going? Why, we're going to follow the adventures of a man who thought he could commit murder and escape punishment. I call the story Death Laughs Last. It was while I was practicing medicine in an eastern city that Edward Harrison brought his wife Mary to me for an examination. I could see at a glance that she was dangerously ill. When I had finished my examination, however, I tried to conceal her true condition from her till I had a chance to speak privately to her husband.
It isn't anything serious, is it, Dr. Smith? Oh, please tell me that it isn't.
Well, I'm afraid it's too soon to say, Mrs. Harrison. Until the X-ray plates are ready, I can't say yes or no.
Oh, but...
Now your husband is waiting outside. He's probably beginning to worry, so...
Oh, yes, of course.
Here's your wife, Mr. Harrison. You must have thought I'd kidnapped her.
No, but I was getting a little worried, Doctor. I hope you didn't find anything very wrong.
Well, I took several X-rays, but I won't be able to tell much until they're developed. I'd like your wife to come back day after tomorrow, if she can.
Of course, Doctor. What time would be the best?
Well, any time that's convenient to you. Now, I'll write out a prescription your husband can have filled. Will you step in for a moment, Mr. Harrison?
Sure thing. With you in a moment, Mary.
Of course, darling.
Sit down, won't you, Mr. Harrison?
All right. Now, what is it, Doctor?
Mr. Harrison, your wife is dangerously ill.
Does that mean she's going to die?
Her only hope is a brain operation. A very difficult and delicate operation. Without it, well, I could only give her 6 months, a year at most.
No, it mustn't be. She's got to have the operation, you hear?
I must tell you, Mr. Harrison, that only one man in this country has the necessary skill for the operation your wife needs. He's Dr. Howard Richards, and naturally he's in great demand. His average fee for an operation is about $1,500.
$1,500?
Well, of course, if you can't afford that, you might consider the circumstances and...
No, I can afford it. I can afford anything Mary needs.
Well, then I'll get in touch with him at once.
Yeah, sure. You make the arrangements right away, and I'll get a hold of the money. I'll get it to you by tomorrow, sure.
Darling, help me off with my coat, will you? Please?
Oh, sure, Mary. Yeah. How are you feeling?
Oh, much better since Dr. Smith gave me that medicine in his office.
He's a swell doctor. He'll fix you up in no time.
Did he tell you anything more, Edward?
Not a thing, except that the treatment might take a little time, that's all.
A little time? Oh, dear, I hope it won't be too expensive. Your business hasn't been good, and we've used up all the money in our savings account, and...
Oh, don't you fret about money. Don't you worry about anything.
All right, darling, I won't. Oh, but aren't you going to take your coat off?
No, I've got to get the prescription the doctor gave me filled. You just take it easy till I get back. I might stop in at the shop, too. There's something I've got to attend to there. Mr. Danvers, I'm Ed Harrison.
Oh, yes, Mr. Harrison. Please sit down. I see that you want to borrow $1,500 from us.
That's right.
Unfortunately, the security you offer, your home...
Well, what's wrong with it? It's a swell little house, good section, all in good repair.
Yes, that's true. But you already have a first and second mortgage on it, totaling $4,000. And, well, I'm afraid we can't make any further loans on it.
But I've got to have the money. I've just got to.
I'm sorry to hear that, because there's nothing we can do to help you. Nothing we can do.
You say you're not employed, Mr. Harrison.
No, I own a shop. I'm a locksmith.
Well, that means you're never certain of your income. If you had a job now, a regular income you could depend on...
What are you getting at? You mean you're not going to let me have the money?
I certainly wish I could, but under the circumstances... Well, I'm sorry, very sorry, but there's nothing I can do.
I'm afraid the collateral you suggest isn't satisfactory, Mr. Harrison. We'd lend you the money if we could, but we just can't. Sorry.
But I've got to have it. I've just got to.
Sorry.
It's to save Mary's life. She'll die if I don't.
Sorry.
And I won't let her die. I won't.
Sorry. Sorry.
Look,
Sorry.
you must.
Sorry.
Listen.
Edward, you aren't eating. Oh, and you're so quiet. Dear, is there anything wrong?
What? Oh, no, of course not.
You're worrying about me, aren't you?
Why, no, Mary. I was just thinking about making some changes at the shop. And...
Darling, you don't have to lie to me. I know I'm not well, but I'm going to get better. Really, I am, I promise.
Of course you are. Dr. Smith said so. You're going to be well in no time. Now I've got to go out. I have an appointment over the other side of the city with Horace Latimer. He wants to see me about something. Something important.
Edward had no appointment with Horace Latimer, but went to see Horace anyway. For he and Horace had been boyhood friends. Then their paths had separated, and Horace had grown wealthy. But in his desperation, Edward Harrison hoped that Horace would remember the past and would lend him the money he'd been trying to raise all day. Horace could spare it easily. But would he?
1,500. That's rather a lot of money, Ed.
I know it is, Horace, but it's for Mary, for an operation. I've got to have it.
Yes. Why don't you try the bank? You have a house, a business.
I have tried the bank and all the personal loan companies in town. They all turned me down, said the security wasn't good enough.
I see. Well, that's too bad. But I don't quite understand why you came to me, Ed.
Because we're friends, that's why. Because when we were boys, we agreed that we'd each of us always lend the other a helping hand if we could.
Boys don't understand business very well, I'm afraid, Ed.
No, I suppose not. They don't understand business. They just understand friendship. You know, if I had the money and you needed it, I'd lend it to you in a minute.
I don't doubt that at all, Ed. And you can bet I'd lend it to you if I had it. But that's the trouble. I haven't any ready cash. The income tax, you know, and a couple of shaky investments that I had to bolster up lately.
All right, Horace, never mind explaining. I get the idea. You're not going to lend me the money.
No, really, Ed, I would if I could, but I can't. I'm sorry,
Save your
but
sorrow for somebody else. I don't need your money, you hear? I'll get it someplace else. Yes, I'll get it. Somehow.
After he had slammed out of Horace Latimer's expensive home, Edward stood for a moment on the dark street corner, staring back with bitterness in his face.
Sorry. Yes, you're sorry. In a pig's eye, you're sorry. What a sap I was to think you were a pal of mine.
What's that, buddy? Oh, was you talking to me?
What? Oh, no, sorry. I guess I was thinking out loud.
Oh, that's okay. Hey, got a match?
A match? Oh, sure. Yeah. There you go.
Thanks. Okay, just hold it like that. Make a move and I'll plug you.
Gun?
Yeah,
Why,
this is a stick-up. Hold your hand over your dough and make it fast, see?
My dough? That's a hot one. I'm out trying to raise money myself. We're both out of luck. I've only got $1 on me. Take it if you want it anyway. It's more than I could raise.
Don't try to kid me. Stand still while I see what you got in your pockets. A wallet. A leather case of some kind.
You'll find just $1 in that wallet.
Yeah? $1. One measly buck. And I bet you got a roll hidden in this leather case. It's heavy enough.
There's nothing in there but my emergency kit.
Yeah, well, I'll just see for myself. Say. Oh, this kit is full of skeleton keys and picklocks and stuff. What are you, anyway? Second-story worker?
I'm a locksmith and a safe repairman, if it's anything to you. Now, how about taking the $1 and letting me go on my way? I'm in a hurry.
Not so fast, pal. Not so fast. Were you leveling just now when you said you was trying to raise dough?
Yeah, I've got to have $1,500 by tomorrow. What's it to you?
You'd be surprised, pal. Okay, I'm putting the gun away, but you ain't leaving yet.
Me and you, we're gonna talk business. Because I got a plan that'll get us both all the dough we need. Two more beers, waiter.
Coming up.
Well, is it a deal on my proposition?
I don't know, Mike.
Sure you do. There's nothing to it. You can open locks and safes. I know where there's a house with plenty of dough in it. You and me together, we'll go get it. We'll make a team.
But burglary? I've never stolen anything in my life.
Listen, you said you needed the dough bad, didn't you? So do I, plenty bad. You said you'd do anything to get it, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Then what are you hanging back for? All you gotta do is get the back door opened and the safe. In half an hour, you'll have your 1,500 and more. How else are you ever gonna get it? Answer me that.
I don't know. You're sure the money's there, Mike?
Positive. I was casing the joint, looked in the window in time to see the old geezer put a whole roll of bills in a safe that's like a bread box. You could open it with your teeth.
All right, I'll do it. I've got to have the money. I'll go on the job with you.
Okay, this is the joint. Everybody's hit the hay long ago. It'll be a cinch.
The luck looks easy. But I shouldn't be doing this. There must be some other way to get the money straight.
Don't be a sucker all your life. You gotta take what you want in this world. If you don't, you'll never get it. Everybody's a crook of some kind. Take it from me.
Well...
Get on. Get that door open. We gotta get inside before we're spotted.
All right. Let me take a second, I think. Yes. There. It's unlocked.
Okay, get inside. The safe's in the library. Down this way. Don't make any noise.
You're sure there's only two of them in the house?
Yeah, the old guy and his butler. Probably both of them deaf as posts. Here's the library. Come on. The safe's behind the picture on the wall.
This picture?
Yeah, that's it. I'll lift it down. There you are. That safe is just a kid's toy. Go ahead, get it open.
It won't be that easy. But I'll have it open inside half an hour.
Hurry it up. You've been 40 minutes on that thing.
It's coming now. There. It's open.
About time, too. And now let's see what's in it. Here's the cash box. Will I open it? There. Look. Dough, cash, Mazuma. What'd I tell you?
There must be thousands there.
Easy. Come on, we'll count it and divvy it up.
No, never mind. Just give me 1,500. That's all I want. You can keep the rest.
Are you kidding?
No, that's all I want. Just the 1,500 I need.
Okay, it's your funeral. Here you are. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, $1,500 bills.
$1,500?
Yeah, for just an hour's work. Easy money, huh? What do you say? We crack a couple more cribs tonight?
No, I just want to get out of here now and...
Get behind this door. I'll take care of it.
Burglars! Jenkins! Police! Help!
What'd you expect me to do? Shake his hand?
Would you kill him? Yes. I'm an accessory to murder.
Cut that guff and let's get out of here. Or do you want to get caught?
No, of course not.
All right, let's get going. Come on, we can...
Stand still, both of you. I have a gun and I have you covered.
The butler.
If you move, I'll shoot. I can see you perfectly.
He's standing on the stairs. He's got a gun. We caught.
No, not yet. We ain't. Not by an old scarecrow with a rusty horse pistol.
Put up your hands. I'm going to call the police. You've done something to the boss.
Okay, we'll put up our hands. Light from me, Will.
Oh!
I shot him.
We gotta get out of here in a hurry. No shots. Okay, here we are. Come on in.
But why did you make me come here? Why can't I go home?
You heard me. Come on in. That's better. Now, take off your hat and stay a while.
But I can't stay, Mike. My wife, she'll be worrying. Get home to her.
You've got other things than your wife to worry about, chum.
What do you mean, Mike?
I mean the cops. Or have you forgotten? You're wanted for murder.
No, I haven't forgotten. I'll never be able to forget. Why did you kill him? Why?
Well, it was either kill them or go to jail. Or would you rather have gone to jail, huh?
No, but I'm all mixed up. How did I get into this anyway?
You needed dough. That's how you got into this. And you got it, so now cut out the sob stuff.
Why won't you let me go home? Why did you make me come here to your room?
You're here so you and me can have a little talk.
Kind of a talk.
Well, chum, that door and that safe open. You and me got a future together.
I won't do it. I won't.
Sure you will. And always send a little note to the cops.
They'd get you, too.
I'd be a long ways off here. You got a sick wife. You can, they say. You don't think you can pull a job and then go on as if nothing had happened. Somebody's always got to bear another.
I did it only for
a minute now, and you can't get out. Wait.
I will get it off my chest.
Oh, no, you do. You see, and if I thought... Hey, get away, go!
You got me into this. I'll take that gun away from me.
I'll plug you out! Oh!
Mike. He's dead. I'm going to get away.
In a daze of horror, he made his way to the street. Thoughts which he could not control round in his head.
They'll hang me. But I had the money to make Mary. Now they'll catch me. They'll hang me. I've got to. Paid for somehow. But you can't escape if you're lucky. I need a drink. I've got to have a drink before I go crazy.
So Edward Harrison stopped the street and struggling to control his shaking as normal. He ordered a double whiskey. And gulped it, his senses cleared a little. He heard the radio at the end of the bar, broadcasting a warning to the city.
Attention. The police stop for the following man. Committed in the Buxton Park. Please make a note of the following.
Say, buddy, what's the radio off for?
Because I was...
Did he? And I got a night I want to hear it. So I'm going to turn it back on again.
No, you mustn't.
But I'm going to. If you try your gun right here under the bar, see what that dirty killer looked like.
I repeat, beyond height, lean and wiry, with reddish-brown hair, in Buxton Park earlier this evening. Man reported once to... Now turn you back to our regular night owl program of popular dance tunes.
Lean and wiry with reddish-brown hair, huh? Well, that ain't you. You're heavy-set and black-haired. But for a minute there, you had me going. I was positive you was the killer the way you didn't want me to hear the description. I guess you're just jumpy, huh? Well, here, have another drink. On the house.
Thanks. I need some sleep. Yeah, that's what I need. Some sleep.
How close he had come to giving himself away. Edward Harrison hurried. Mike the police were looking for, not Edward Harrison. And they had. Edward Harrison was safe. His own good luck, Edward was asleep. Quiet and troubled by nightmare, Mary was already preparing breakfast.
Good morning, darling.
I was pretty late. I stopped at the shop. I was pretty late at a little work. I forgot to watch the time.
Oh, this morning you look terrible. I know. You're worrying about me. Really, I am.
Of course you are. I'm going to see to that.
What do you think? Dr. Smith called up last night. He wanted to talk to you. Said he had some good news for you.
Good news?
Yes, but he wouldn't tell me what it was. I don't know why. He asked for you to stop in at his office this morning.
I think I know what it is. Yes, sure, I'll go right over and see him.
Oh, but, darling, you're going to eat breakfast first, aren't you?
I'll eat when I get back. I want to see the doctor first. Anyway, I'm not very hungry.
Well, all right, Edward. But please hurry back. I want to know what the doctor says, too.
Yeah, sure, Mary. I'll be right back. But everything's okay now, darling. Everything's okay.
After he left the house, Edward bought a morning paper. Big headlines told of the murders the night before, but he scarcely saw them. His eyes hurried through the story until he found what he was looking for. The news that Mike's body had been found. The butler Mike had shot had given the police Mike's description and then died before he could tell them there was anyone with Mike. So the police had listed Mike's death as a suicide or an accident and closed the case. Edward Harrison was safe. Perfectly safe.
Safe. I'm safe. Mike was wrong. Sometimes you can get away with murder and not have to pay anything if you're lucky. And I've been lucky. I've been lucky.
Harrison entered my office, he sat down beside my desk and tossed a folded newspaper into the wastebasket. His expression was that of a man who had just faced disaster and been rescued at the last moment.
Good morning, Doctor. Mary said you'd phoned. You had good news.
Yes, Mr. Harrison, I called you last night after I got in touch with Dr. Richards. I wanted to tell you that he had agreed to operate on your wife.
Oh, that's swell, Doctor. And I've got the money right here in my pocket.
Money, yes. Yes, I was also going to tell you that Dr. Richards had said not to worry about it. You could take as long as you wanted to pay it.
As long as I wanted?
Yes.
Then it wasn't necessary. I didn't have to do it. I didn't have to do it.
I'm afraid I don't understand.
Never mind, Doctor. I mean, I've got the money. I want to pay it. He's got to take it right away. Well, what's the matter? What are you looking at me like that for? The operation is going to save Mary's life, isn't it? You said it would. You can go back on your word. You can, do you hear?
It's not that, Mr. Harrison. Yes, the operation would save your wife's life, but unfortunately, Dr. Richards was the only man in this country able to perform it.
Well, so what? He said he'd do it, didn't he? And I've raised the dough to pay him, so what's the hitch?
Mr. Harrison, Dr. Richards can't perform the operation now.
But you said...
He was tragically murdered last night by a burglar who broke into his home in Buxton Park. This is the mysterious traveler again. Did you enjoy our little trip into the life of a man who thought he could make good come out of evil? Poor Edward Harrison. He didn't believe that crime must always be paid for by someone, did he? What became of him? Well, after his wife died a few months later, he confessed everything to the police. He didn't have anything to live for, poor fellow. But I hope his experience will teach you that crime really doesn't pay. I always say that if... Oh, you're getting off at the next stop. I'm sorry. But perhaps we'll meet again soon. I take this same train every week.
You have just heard Chapter 42 of The Mysterious Traveler, a series of dramas of the strange and terrifying. In today's story, Death Laughs Last, Philip Clarke played Edward Harrison, Carl Emory played Mike, and Elizabeth Morgan played Mary Harrison. The Mysterious Traveler is written by Bob Arthur and David Kogan, and original music is played by Henry Silverne. The entire production is under the direction of Jock McGregor. And now, an important message for all of you.
This is Jock McGregor speaking. The National War Fund drive begins tomorrow. As you probably know, this fund includes over 22 of the major war relief and service organizations. As the war progresses on all fronts, more and more people will need help. Our armed forces, American prisoners of war, our allies, and people right here at home. And by giving to the National War Fund, you will be helping. Consider just one of the many organizations that the War Fund supports, the USO. More than 3,000 service units are in operation, clubs where our servicemen and women find recreation, dances, educational activities, reading, writing, and game rooms, and religious counsel. The USO is responsible for the traveler's aid desks, which help servicemen make connections and find sleeping accommodations. It operates the lounges in railroad and bus terminals. USO camp shows bring American entertainment to our troops at camps and stations throughout this country and in all the combat zones. Groups will play the jungle circuit in the South Pacific, the desert circuit in North Africa, the grass skirt circuit in the Hawaiian Islands, and the foxhole circuit in combat zones just behind the front lines. We can't measure in money the good accomplished by the USO, but we can help to continue that good work by giving our money the National War Fund. So when your community war fund or war chest representative calls on you, give and give generously.
Listen next time to a tale titled
The Man the Insects Hated.
Another tale of the Mysterious Traveler. The Mysterious Traveler is presented by WOR Mutual from the WOR studios in New York. Beginning Saturday, October 7th, The Mysterious Traveler will be heard at a new time. It will be presented every Saturday evening at 10:30 Eastern Wartime over most of these same stations. So remember the new time, 10:30 p.m., Saturdays.
This is Mutual. The Mysterious Traveler.
This is the Mysterious Traveler, inviting you to join me on another journey into the realm of the strange and the terrifying. I hope you will enjoy the trip, that it will thrill you a little and chill you a little. So settle back, get a good grip on your nerves, and be comfortable, if you can. Where are we going? Why, we're going to visit a man who could change the soul of a human being from one body into another, in a story I call They Who Sleep. My story begins late one foggy night in a dingy little room in the slum section of a great city. The occupant of the room, a small man, white-haired, his cheeks hollow from hunger, has just admitted a visitor whom he does not know and whom he is trying to send away. An expensively dressed young woman with a heavy veil hiding her face.
But, my child, it cannot be me to whom you wish to speak. You have made some mistake.
I haven't made any mistake. I've been hunting for you for days. I spent a good deal of money tracing you here.
But I do not understand. Why should you wish to find me, Alexander Thomas, a penniless old man?
You did not always use the name Alexander Thomas. Once you called yourself Chadwin the Great, hypnotist beyond compare.
Chadwin the Great?
Yes.
I once used that name. But Chadwin the Great no longer exists. I am only Alexander Thomas now.
Listen to me, Chadwin. We've met before. 10 years ago, you gave a performance at the Bijou Theater.
There are so many Bijou theaters.
You asked for volunteers to be hypnotized. I came up on the stage. I and my sister Rose. You hypnotized her easily, but you could not hypnotize me.
There were so many, I cannot remember.
No, but you can remember this newspaper clipping.
That old story from the newspapers? Where did you get it?
It says that you, Chadwin the Great, once performed the experiment of exchanging two men's souls. By the use of secret drugs and your great powers of hypnotism, you transferred one man's soul into another man's body.
You cannot believe all the newspapers say.
But you did this before witnesses. And one of the two men died. You went to prison for 5 years for manslaughter.
Why do you come here to remind an old man of his tragedies? Go, please. Leave me alone.
No, Chadwin. For years I've kept this clipping, for years. Never knowing what impulse made me tear it out and save it. Until last week I found it again. And then I knew.
You speak not like a woman, but like a soul possessed by devils.
Perhaps I am. So you can transfer souls from one body to another?
No, I cannot.
How much would you charge to do it again?
Do not ask that of me. I am old. I have been in prison.
How much, Chadwin? Could you put my soul into another's body for $10,000?
$10,000?
Yes. Then you could live like a man again, not like a starving animal in this hovel.
Once before I tampered with the eternal laws. I paid the penalty. And so did one of those I experimented upon.
But which one, Chadwin?
The weaker one. He died. The other, the strong soul in its new body, lived.
Ah, then I am ready. When can you do it? Tomorrow night?
But, my child, why should you risk your life for that which cannot be, which was not meant to be?
Look, Chadwin, I shall raise my veil. Would you call me beautiful? Even pretty? No. I'm ugly.
You are not ugly. Your face is strong, but if it were not twisted by bitterness...
Enough of talking! How can you know what it means to a woman to be ugly? To lose the man you love to a woman you hate? Because you are plain, and she is so beautiful. Chadwin, will you do as I ask?
To help you change with one who is beautiful. To help you to be loved for just a little. My child, perhaps it is not such a great wickedness to do that.
Then you'll do it?
But it is only for a little while. You must understand that. For 10 days, no more. Then the laws which cannot be violated with impunity require that your soul must return to your body.
It's enough. It's all I want, Chadwin.
Very well. I have here a small bottle. Here. Take it. Guard it carefully. When the moment comes, she, the other, must drink it in water.
Yes. It will be easy.
She will drift off to sleep. Then you must come to me. But not here. It would not be safe.
Never mind. I know the place. The safest in the world.
Very well. The exchange will be made, and I will see that she, in your body, slumbers dreamlessly. After 10 days, she will wake and be herself again, with no memory whatever of what has happened. And now, Miss...
Vaughn. Helen Vaughn.
Now, Miss Vaughn, who is this beautiful one with whom you would change places?
The girl who just married the man I love. My sister, Rose Vaughn. Good morning, Bessie.
Good morning, Miss Helen.
Where's Miss Rose? She's gone downstairs yet?
Mrs. Tabor, you must learn to say now, Miss Helen.
Mrs. Tabor, then.
She's in her room, Miss Helen.
Is Mr. Tabor with her?
Yes, he is.
All right, Bessie, thank you.
Helen, is that you? We thought we heard your voice. Come on in. Leonard's just leaving for the office.
Good morning, Helen. How's the best sister-in-law I ever had?
Hello, Rose. Leonard.
Darling, what's the matter?
I know. Did you hear what time this young lady got in last night? It must have been quite a party.
Oh, Leonard, I hope you aren't keeping tabs on Helen.
No, but I did hear the clock strike 3 just as her door closed. Well, me for the office. First, a goodbye kiss. Oh, gosh. I sure picked myself a beautiful wife.
Oh, run along, you silly.
Bye, Helen. Got a sisterly kiss for me?
Leonard, don't put your arms around me, please.
Well, there's sisterly affection for you. You'd think she hated me.
Oh, run along, Leonard. They probably need you downtown to polish off a big deal.
Yeah, they probably do at that. Okay, I'm on my way. Bye, you two.
Bye, darling. Well, Helen, you are in a mood this morning.
I just think you two carry this lovey-dovey business to a ridiculous extreme.
Helen, it's as if you disliked seeing Leonard kiss me.
You don't have to be constantly kissing him in front of other people, do you?
Helen, oh, my dear, I didn't realize.
Didn't realize what?
Didn't realize it. Oh, Helen, darling, believe me, someday the man will come along who'll mean just as much to you as Leonard does to me. You'll find him. I'll help you find him. Listen, I'll give some parties and invite a lot of new men.
Stop it, Rose. Let go of me. Don't go gushing over me, you idiot.
Helen, how can you be so cruel?
Oh, stop sniveling like that.
I'm sorry, Helen, but you're always so sharp when anybody tries to be nice to you.
And you're always so nice to everybody, so soft, so sweet. Oh, I'm sorry, Rose. I always forget how the least quarrel upsets you. Well, here. Drink this, Rose. There's a sedative in it. Something quite harmless. It'll soothe your nerves.
Oh, all right. Oh, nasty stuff.
Now lie down on your bed. That's it. Just a few moments now, and you'll be drifting off to slumberland, my beautiful sister.
Oh, it is quick, isn't it? Feel drowsy already.
You do?
Huh.
And you must give in to the feeling, you hear? Don't fight it.
I feel so queer. As though I were on a boat. A little boat.
Rose, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, Helen, I hear you. You seem such a long ways away. Such a long way.
Rose, you're to come to me when I call you. Do you hear? You're to sleep for a while. Then when I call, no matter where I am, you're to come to me.
Yes, I'll come to you. I'll...
She's asleep. Chadwin's drug is working. The rain! Come. Well, let it rain. Yes, let the skies open and drench the earth. Let the rain fall like a curtain, like a cloak to hide the rebirth of Helen Vaughn.
Leaving her sister Rose in a slumber so deep it was almost death-like, Helen Vaughn hurried to her room. There she wrote a note addressed to Rose and Leonard, explaining that she had decided suddenly to go off by herself on a trip to Mexico, and that they would probably not hear from her for some time. Then she put on her hat and coat and slipped out. All day she waited in a hotel. Then when night came, she picked up Chadwin the Great in a rented car and drove him through the storm into a spot well outside the city, where she turned into an ancient cemetery. There she brought the car to a stop before a low building of white marble over which ivy and moss had grown for many years. With a heavy key, she opened the massive padlock, and they entered, shutting the door behind them.
The air in this old mausoleum is dank odor of a charnel house.
But where else could the living lie asleep, peaceful and undisturbed, as safely as here among the sleeping dead?
No, I will not go through with it.
You already have your money. You cannot back out now.
Then in heaven's name, let us be finished quickly.
Quickly, yes. The storm should hide the car from the cemetery guards, but we must take no chances. Now, here's a flashlight I brought. I'll turn it on. Look there, Chadwin, at the tiers of compartments this tiny stone building holds. Each compartment with its iron door, each holding within it a coffin in which lies the dust of a Vaughn.
I see them, yes. 12 of them.
This one, here on the bottom, is empty. Meant someday to hold the body of Helen Vaughn. Tonight it shall receive her.
No, this is madness.
I'll open it. There. See that narrow, dark compartment? So small, so quiet, so restful, so safe from disturbance. In it for the next 10 days shall rest my body, holding the soul of my sister Rose.
No, there must be some other way.
None that is safe. While my body sleeps and I am absent from it, it must be where no one can find it. And here, no one ever will.
I do not like it.
Hold the light. I'll slide into it. It's quite roomy enough. The stone is chilly, but what matters that to one who is asleep? Going.
Rose Vaughn, hear me. Enter the body that awaits you here. Enter quickly and wait.
So cold, I'm lying on stone. So cold and dark. Helen.
There is nothing to fear. Sleep, my child.
Yes, I see.
Quickly, Chadwin closed and latched the iron door of the compartment, slipped from the mausoleum, snapped the padlock on the huge door again, and was gone. At the same time, back in the big house in the city, The frantic Leonard paced the floor, waiting for some change in the condition of his wife, Rose, who all day had been in a strange stupor from which nothing could arouse her.
There. Doesn't she look better?
Yes, I think she does.
She's waking up.
Rose, darling, don't be frightened.
Why, Leonard.
Yes, of course it's me. Who did you think it was going to be?
I don't know. I was startled. I guess I must have been dreaming.
Rose, what's happened to you? Why, your voice sounds just like Helen's.
Really, Leonard? That's odd.
Perhaps I'm catching a cold.
No. Now you sound like yourself again. But for a moment, I'd have sworn it was Helen speaking. I guess I've been so worried I'm just imagining things.
Oh, Leonard, hold me close. Close, darling, close.
Always, Rose. Always.
Always. Yes, always. She'll never have you back. Never.
What are you saying, Rose?
I was just thinking of how much I love you. So much that I'll never let anything take you away from me. Never.
In the days that followed, Leonard found his beautiful wife, Rose, strangely changed.
You've been different somehow these last 10 days. In fact, ever since Helen went away so unexpectedly.
Have I, Leonard? How?
Well, you've been gayer, more headstrong, too. It's almost as if you'd acquired a whole new character.
Well, perhaps I have. And how do you like this new wife of yours?
Well, I do, and I...
Don't?
Oh, please, I don't mean it. It's just that... Well, I was so in love with the old Rose, it's a little hard to get used to the new. And all these bills that you're running up. Why, that's not like the Rose you used to be.
Oh, Leonard, I do hope you're not too mad at me because...
Well, what is it this time? Another fur coat?
Worse than that. We're going to give a party.
Another? Why, there's 3 in 10 days. Rose, I forbid it.
You can't, Leonard, because I've invited everybody already.
Rose, it's so unlike you. Why, you act more like Helen than like yourself these days.
Never mind, darling. You'll get used to the change in me. In time.
Ignoring her husband's displeasure, Rose, or should I say, Helen, went ahead with her plans for a party that night. And when early in the evening, a small gray-haired man presented himself at the door and asked for her, he sent word by Bessie that she would not see him.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chadwin. Mrs. Tabor says she cannot see you. She says she does not know anyone named Chadwin.
But she does. 10 days ago I was here. I gave you an envelope for her. It had a key in it. Oh, surely you remember?
Yes, but just the same, she says she doesn't know you. Now, please go, or I'll have to call an officer.
Did you tell her what I said? This was the 10th day?
Yes, and she said she had no idea what you were talking about.
All right. I'm going. I must do what I can by myself.
And while the gay party went on, miles away in the old cemetery, Chadwin the Great worked frantically with a hammer and chisel to force the padlock on the door of the mausoleum in which, unknown to the world, a sleeping girl lay hidden.
Look, got to get it open. Won't let me into our house. Won't even talk to me. Won't let me warn her. What is that? Dog's coming this way.
There he is. Somebody trying to break into the barn mausoleum.
The guards. I must run for it.
Look out, he's getting away. Hey, you great runner. You little somebody.
They missed me. Got to get back to town. I must warn her. She's got to know. Miss Vaughan, thank heaven this time you heeded my message.
I won't have you coming around to my house this way, do you hear? You must never come here again.
But you do not understand. The 10 days is up tonight. Now. Your time is over.
Are you trying to scare me, Chadwin? To get more money from me?
Money? No. I am just trying to tell you. It was understood 10 days only. More is not allowed.
You fool! Do you think I ever intended to give up Rose's body once I had it? In that narrow crypt in the tightly locked mausoleum, my body has long since died from lack of air. And Rose has died with it. But I remain alive.
So, that is what you planned. I should have guessed. But it is not so. Your body is not dead. It is in a sleep so deep that it scarcely breathes. Needs no food, no water. But sometime tonight the dog will wear off, and your sister Rose will claim her body again, while you, Helen Bond, will wake to find yourself locked within a burial crypt.
No. No, it's not true.
It is true. And you will not be asleep. You will be awake, needing air, and there will be no air.
You're just trying to frighten me.
Tonight I tried to open the tomb to save you. I was driven away by guards with dogs.
But what can I do?
Only if we can reach the tomb in time to open it can you be saved.
And we must go now. I'll get the key. And we must hurry. Hurry!
There's the mausoleum, Miss Bond. Pray heaven the guards are not waiting.
They won't be. We fooled them by leaving the car outside and walking up this back path. Now hurry, Chip.
What is it, Miss Bond?
I don't know. For a moment, I felt so dizzy. So weak.
It's Rose, trying to return to her body. We cannot waste an instant.
Hold me up. Something is pulling at me, tugging at me.
Helen, where are you?
She is speaking through her own lips.
No, not yet. Go back, you hear me, Rose? Go back.
Here's the mausoleum. The key. Give me the key.
Here it is, quickly. She's pushing at me so hard.
No.
Helen, help me. Everything is so dark. Where are you?
Go back. Go back, I say. Chadwin, have you got the lock off yet?
It won't unlock.
It must.
They put a new padlock on. Oh, dear heavens, they've changed the lock.
Helen.
No. It's getting dark. Dark.
It's hopeless. We cannot enter.
Helen, where are you?
No. We can't both be in the same body. Go back.
Helen, I'm frightened.
Don't force me out.
Help me.
Go back where you were.
Help me.
Wait, Rose, wait.
Help me. Helen. No, don't. Rose, you mustn't. You mustn't.
The guards, they're coming back.
Where am I? What happened to me?
Sleep, child. Sleep a little longer and wake without memories.
Please. Yes. Please.
For her will I can do nothing now. And the guards, they must not catch me. They must not catch me.
There he is. We got him this time. Holy cats. It's a girl.
It's Mrs. Tabor. Asleep on the steps of her own family mausoleum.
Say, we got to get her out of here. Help me lift her out.
Hey, wait. Did you hear something then? Like somebody calling a long ways off? Listen.
I can't breathe. Chadwin, help me. I'm not dead.
Well, do you hear anything?
Nah, I can't hear anything, just the wind. Come on, we got to phone Miss Tabor's husband. She may be sick. Come on now, no time to lose.
Help me, Chadwin. Help me.
Rose, do you remember anything about a man named Chadwin?
Chadwin? No, I don't, Leonard.
Well, Bessie says he called several times last week to see you. The last time was the night of the party. You're sure you don't remember him?
No, Leonard. I'm sorry,
Oh,
but...
it's all right, darling. I just thought maybe you might have begun to remember some of the things that happened during those 10 days when you, well, weren't yourself.
It's so strange. As if my mind had been asleep the whole time. Is there something about Chadwin in the paper?
He committed suicide last night.
Oh.
His body was found near the old family mausoleum. He left a mysterious note saying he was paying for some transgression.
How strange.
I wondered if he could have given us any clue as to how you came to leave the party so suddenly that night and drive to the cemetery. Oh, but it's all over now and not worth worrying about.
I'd remember if I could, but when I try, I become suddenly frightened and feel as if I were locked in some dark, tiny space where I can't breathe.
All right now, darling, all right. Let's forget the whole thing. Now, let's see what came in the morning mail. Maybe there's a letter from Helen. You know, it's high time we were hearing from her. She's really not acting much like a sister, being gone so long without even writing or letting us know where she is.
This is the mysterious traveler again. I'm afraid Leonard and Rose are going to have to wait a long time for a letter from Helen. In fact, I'll be very much surprised if they ever get one. I suppose it'll never occur to them to look in the old mausoleum. In fact, since they both feel a distinct aversion to going near it, it may never be opened again. But I don't suppose that'll make much difference to Helen. Now, if you were wishing you could step into somebody else's shoes, maybe what happened to Helen will make you change your mind. You know, I knew a man once who he stole somebody else's body, only to discover when it was too late that he... Oh, you're getting off here? Well, perhaps we'll meet again soon. I take this same train every week at this same time.
You have just heard Chapter 55 of The Mysterious Traveler, a series of dramas of the strange and terrifying. In tonight's story, They Who Sleep, Philip Clarke played Chadwin, Gertrude Warner played Helen, and Helen Clare played Rose. The Mysterious Traveler is written by Bob Arthur and David Kogan. Original music is played by Henry Silverne, and the entire production is under the direction of Jock McGregor. Listen next week to a tale titled
Escape Through Time.
Another tale of the Mysterious Traveler. The Mysterious Traveler is presented by WOR Mutual from the WOR studios in New York. This is Mutual.
The Mysterious Traveler.
This is the Mysterious Traveler, inviting you to join me on another journey into the realm of the strange and the terrifying. I hope you will enjoy the trip, that it will thrill you a little and chill you a little. So settle back, get a good grip on your nerves, and be comfortable, if you can. Where are we going? We're going to join Charles Foster as he takes an excursion into crime. I call the story The Case of Charles Foster. Late one evening several years ago, when I was practicing medicine in a large eastern city, I visited Charles Foster, a friend and patient of mine. I took with me Flush, a cocker spaniel he had entrusted to me.
Hello, Doctor. Glad you were able to come. I see you brought Flush.
Hello, Flush, old boy.
He's missed you, Charles.
I've missed him, too, Doctor. It's been quite lonesome without him these past few months. Down, boy. It's a good dog.
How do you feel, Charles?
Oh, I'm all right, Doctor. You needn't worry about me.
I'm glad to hear that.
I suppose you've been quite puzzled about everything that's happened these past months.
Frankly, Charles, I have. Even now, I find it difficult to believe that you could...
Doctor, I'm going to tell you something that I've never told anyone. I thought I'd go to the grave with my secret, but we've always been friends, and I'd like you to know the truth.
As you wish, Charles.
It's strange how little people know of one another. For 10 years, Agatha and I were married, and to the outside world, we were a happily married couple. But in the privacy of our home, I found life with Agatha a nightmare.
I never would have guessed that.
For 10 years, I stood her sharp tongue and constant nagging. I might have gone on taking it the rest of my life. Fate hadn't decreed otherwise. It was 3 years ago on a beautiful spring evening that fate stepped in to change the entire course of my life.
Is that you, Charles?
Yes, Agatha.
Did you remember to buy me some more of my cough medicine?
Yes, here it is. Supper ready?
Some men would be more interested in their wives' health than their own suppers.
I'm sorry, Agatha, but you really don't look sick to me.
That's because you don't care. I'm not well, and you know it. I work myself to death day in and day out, keeping this house clean. And little thanks do I get for it.
I've told you before, Agatha, if the house is too much for you, hire a maid.
And how exactly can we afford a maid on your miserable bookkeeper's salary?
Well, if you can't manage it out of my salary, there's always the $50,000 your father left you.
That money is mine, and I'm not spending a single cent of it. It's up to you to provide a maid.
All right, Agatha. Please, let's not quarrel. Oh, hello, Flush. How are you, old boy?
No, you care more about that dog than you do me.
You know that isn't true.
It is. Sometimes I think the only reason you come home is because of that dirty old dog.
Quiet,
Get away from me. All he does is eat and put his filthy paws on my furniture. I want you to get rid of that dog, Charles.
Get rid of him?
Yes. Buy some poison at the drugstore and dispose of him.
You can't stand to see me have anything that makes me happy, can you? Well, I'm not getting rid of him.
Charles, this is my house, not yours. And I don't want him here.
Come on, Flush.
Don't think that by walking away that ends the matter, Charles Foster. You'd better get rid of that dog, do you hear?
Glad to get out of the house, eh, old boy? So am I. It's a beautiful evening, isn't it? Come on, boy, we're going to take a long walk. You want to turn around and go home now, Flush? No, neither do I.
Pardon me, but aren't you Charles?
Julia! Julia Sanders!
Charles, I thought it was you.
Oh, let me look at you. Oh, Julia, you haven't changed a bit. You're as lovely as... How long has it been since we last saw each other?
10 years, almost 11.
Has it really been that long? Julia, have you ever forgiven me for what happened?
Of course, Charles.
I was so insanely in love with you, Julia, that I couldn't bear to have other men look at you. You know that I didn't mean to...
I know, Charles.
I've thought of that night constantly. It's been like a nightmare ever since.
Please, Charles, it's all past and forgotten now.
You were perfectly justified in breaking our engagement. After what I'd done, there was nothing else you could do.
I understand you married Agatha Winthrop a year after I'd gone abroad.
Yes, Julia. After you left for Europe, people kept telling me what a wonderful wife Agatha would make me. I allowed myself to be convinced and married her.
Well, I'm sure everything turned out for the best.
But it didn't, Julia. Almost from the beginning, our marriage was a failure. For these past 5 years, Agatha and I have merely been living together under the same roof.
Oh, I'm sorry, Charles, that it didn't turn out well.
Nothing turned out well, Julia, after I lost you. I hope things have been better with you these past 11 years.
Oh, I can't complain. I spent a number of years in Paris studying art and working at dress designing.
Oh.
I only came back a few months ago.
You've never married?
No. I'm working now for Morgan's department store as their art director.
Oh, really? Well, my office is only a few blocks from there. Look, Julia, why don't we have lunch together tomorrow? There are so many things I'd like to know.
Well, I'd like to, Charles, but I think it would be much better that we don't.
Oh, now, surely, Julia, there's no harm in two old friends having lunch together, is there?
No, I suppose not.
I won't take no for an answer. Do you know where Drake's restaurant is?
Yes.
Will 1 o'clock tomorrow be all right?
Yes, that's my usual lunch hour.
Good, then it's a date. Strange, isn't it, Doctor? The way after 11 years, Julia and I bumped into each other. If we hadn't, what followed would never have happened.
It's such small things as an accidental meeting that often change the course of one's life.
Yes, I know that now, but I didn't then. I met Julia for lunch the next day, and soon we were having lunch together every day. And for the first time in years, life began to mean something. Merely seeing Julia for 1 hour a day made life worth living.
I understand, Joan.
We'd have lunch together, and then we'd go for a walk in the park. I sensed at the time that Julia, too, was lonely and in the need of friendship. The summer passed swiftly and happily. I should have realized that things couldn't go on that way, but I didn't.
You mean you fell in love with Julia?
Fell in love with her? I don't think I'd ever really stopped loving her. I became aware of how much I really cared for her one warm autumn day as we were walking through the park together. Julia.
Yes, Charles?
What about going to the theater with me tonight?
I wish you hadn't asked me, Charles.
Why?
Because it means we can't go on seeing each other anymore.
But why shouldn't we go on seeing each other?
Because you aren't satisfied any longer just to see me at lunch, and it isn't right for us to go out together at night.
But surely there's no harm in our going to the theater together.
You're married, Charles. That's reason enough.
All right, Julia. Forget I ever asked you. But at least we can go on having lunch together, can't we?
No, Charles.
Oh, but...
Can't you see? Things can never be the way they were. We've become dependent upon each other, and we have no right to be. We can't go on seeing each other any longer. It isn't fair to Agatha.
But you know that Agatha and I mean nothing to each other. We haven't for years.
Nevertheless, she's your wife.
Julia, you know I love you. I've always loved you, and I can't do without you.
Charles, you're just making it difficult for both of us.
Julia, you do love me, don't you?
Yes. But can't you see, it's no use. I remember Agatha only too well. She'd never give you a divorce.
I know she won't. I've asked her a dozen times in the past 5 years, but she said she'll never give me one.
I want to part now, Charles. Right here.
Must we?
Yes. Goodbye, Charles.
My life seemed to end that day, Doctor, with our parting. I went through the motions of living, but nothing seemed to matter any longer.
I can well understand that.
Well, months went by. Every day after work, I stayed in town, unable to face an evening at home with Agatha. When I did arrive home late at night, she'd be waiting for me.
Is that you, Charles?
Yes, Agatha. Sorry if I woke you.
Now, lot you care. Coming in night after night at all hours, leaving me alone in this big house. Oh, don't think I don't know what you're up to. I know you're kind, Charles Foster.
You better go to sleep, Agatha.
A fine chance I have to sleep with you putting on the bathroom light. You know I can't sleep when that light's on.
It'll take me a minute to brush my teeth, then I'll turn off the light. Agatha.
Well, what is it now?
What's this bottle of prussic acid doing in the medicine chest? That's a deadly poison.
I know that. I got it from Mrs. Smedley, the druggist's wife. She used it to get rid of an old cat they had. When I told her about Flush, she said it was a thing...
What's that about Flush?
I said Mrs. Smedley gave me that bottle of prussic acid so I could get rid of Flush. I'm going to put him out of his misery tomorrow.
You'll do no such thing, do you hear? If you so much as lay a hand on Flush, I'll kill you. I'll kill you, do you understand?
Yes, Charles.
You get rid of that poison tomorrow. Let's have no more talk of putting Flush out of his misery. I lay awake for hours, Doctor, unable to fall asleep. Julia's breaking off with me and my wife's refusal to give me a divorce. And the prussic acid she meant to poison Flush with had left me all worked up. Then Agatha began coughing. That cough she'd cultivated for years to give people the impression that she was an invalid. Well, after she'd coughed her usual 5 minutes or so, she got out of bed and started for the bathroom where she kept her cough medicine.
Oh, drat that chair.
Why don't you turn on the light so you can see where you're going?
I can see perfectly well where I'm going.
Besides, on your salary, we can't afford to waste electricity.
I knew there wasn't any use in saying anything more. For years, Agatha had gotten up every night and groped her way to the medicine chest where her cough medicine was. Nothing could make her change her habits. I lay in bed listening as she opened the medicine chest and fumbled in the corner where she always kept the bottle. As I heard her groping for her medicine, I suddenly thought of the bottle that was standing next to it. The bottle of prussic acid. Without thinking, it came to mind. If only she'd take the prussic acid instead of the cough medicine. If she did, I would be free. Free of her constant nagging and whining. Free to see Julia. Then I knew it was useless to hope for such a mistake to happen. Agatha's cough medicine always stood in the same corner of the medicine chest. Even in the dark, she'd never take the bottle of prussic acid. And then it came to me. What if the bottles were to be switched? What if the following night the prussic acid were placed in the customary spot of the cough medicine? Suddenly it was all very clear to me what I was going to do. Agatha?
Well?
Agatha, I've been thinking over what you said about Flush.
What?
I suppose you're right. Flush should be disposed of.
He certainly should. He's old and he's smelly. It'll be a blessing for him to be put out of his misery.
Yes, of course. I'm sorry I shouted at you before, Agatha, but, well, I see now that you're right.
When are you going to do it?
Oh, we'll wait until Saturday.
And none too soon, either.
You're sure the prussic acid won't make him suffer?
Nonsense. Of course it won't. Mrs. Smedley said nothing works faster than prussic acid.
Oh, you told her what it was for. That's fine. Very well, Agatha. Just leave everything to me. The next night, Doctor, after Agatha was in bed, I quietly strolled into the bathroom and opened the medicine chest. I compared the bottle of cough medicine with that of the prussic acid. They were both small bottles, almost identical in size. I removed the cough medicine from where it stood in the corner of the chest and replaced it with the poison. Then I went to bed and waited impatiently for Agatha to start coughing. Can I get you a glass of water or something, Agatha?
Water won't do any good. What I need is my cough medicine. Oh, that's that tear.
Why don't you turn on the light?
Because I can see perfectly in the dark. Besides, someone's got to economize on the electricity in this house.
I lay there in the darkness, listening to her grumble as she opened the door of the medicine chest. The blood pounded in my ears as I heard her fumbling for the bottle. Would she feel the slight difference in the bottle when she picked it up? Scarcely able to breathe, I waited. Listened. And she fell to the floor. I quickly got out of bed, turned on the lights, and went into the bathroom. She was lying on the floor, quite dead. There was an agonized look on her face. I returned the bottle of cough medicine to its proper place, and then I phoned the police.
Now, you say, Mr. Foster, that your wife was in the habit of going every night to the medicine chest for a few drops of her cough medicine.
Yes, that's right.
And she never turned on the lights when she went to the medicine chest.
Oh, no, sir.
Wasn't that a bit unusual?
Well, I always used to tell her to turn on the lights, but she said it was a waste of electricity.
I see. And you say your wife, it was her who placed the bottle of prussic acid in the medicine chest next to her cough medicine, eh?
Yes, sir. I'd never touched the bottle of prussic acid. You see, it was my wife who procured it, and she...
Yes, Mr. Smedley, the druggist, has testified that his wife gave it to your wife. Mr. Foster, are you familiar with the contents of your wife's will dated 10 years ago?
Yes, I am.
Then you know, of course, that your wife left her entire estate to the Home for the Aged.
Home for the Aged? Oh, yes. I fought to keep my face expressionless, to prevent him from learning that I hadn't known. All the years we'd been married, Agatha had given me to understand that all her money would go to me. Now I knew that she'd been lying. Her will had been made out in favor of the Home for the Aged for years. I began to feel angry at the way she'd cheated me. But a moment later, I was grateful that she had.
Frankly, Mr. Foster, your wife's death occurred under very suspicious circumstances, to say the least. For years, she'd gone to the medicine chest every night without mishap. And yet, on the second night that there was a bottle of prussic acid in the chest, she met her death. Were it not for the fact that your wife had left her entire estate to the Home for the Aged, I might be inclined to go further with this investigation. As it is, I'll instruct the coroner's jury to bring in a verdict of death through accident. That's all, Mr. Foster.
I walked out of the district attorney's office a free man. A few days later, I moved out of the house which had been Agatha's and took up quarters elsewhere. 6 long and uneventful months passed. I made no effort to contact Julia for fear that the police might still have their suspicions. And then I could stand it no longer. I called on her.
Charles, when I was told you were waiting to see me, I could hardly believe it. I'm so glad to see you again.
Thank you, Julia. It's good to see you again, too.
Charles, you don't look well at all.
These past few months have been something of a strain, Julia, but I'm all right now.
I was tempted so many times to get in touch with you. Then I thought perhaps you didn't want to see anyone.
I did want to see you, Julia, but I was afraid it wouldn't look right.
I understand, Charles.
Now, let's not say anything more of the past. Only the present and the future. Julia, do you think we might try to pick up where we left off last autumn?
We can try, Charles.
Julia and I, Doctor, began to see each other night after night. Life for me became exciting and wonderful the way it had been 11 years ago before Julia and I had broken our engagement.
Didn't you ever stop to think of what you'd done?
You mean Agatha?
Yes.
No, Doctor. They say that a murderer is ever haunted by his crime. But that isn't true. At least it wasn't in my case. To me, Agatha was part of another life in the dim past. I rarely thought of the past, only the present and the future. No, if I had any fears at all, it was the fear that something would spoil the happiness that Julia and I had found together. But nothing did. And a few months later, we were married with you as my best man.
Yes, I remember.
My second marriage was everything that my first hadn't been. The first time in my life I knew what true happiness meant. Julia and I were poor, but that didn't matter, for we had each other. The months swiftly passed. And as our first anniversary approached, it was hard to believe that we'd been married almost a year.
Charles, before you leave for work, will you sign a check for me?
Oh, who's it for, dear?
Never you mind, Mr. Foster. You just leave a signed check. I'll fill in the amount and the party it's meant for.
Mrs. Foster, you're acting very mysterious.
Well, a wife has a right to act mysterious once a year.
Darling, I suspect you're going to use this check to buy me an anniversary present. Well, whatever you get me, please don't make it neckties.
Well, I'll have you know I have very good taste in neckties.
I know you do, dear, but I have to wear them.
You're an ungrateful wretch. Very well, I won't get you ties.
Good, then I'll sign the check for you. And please bear in mind that you can't make this check out for more than $312.50. That's all we have in the bank.
Oh, I'll leave you at least the 50 cents.
You'd better leave a good deal more. We won't be going up to Lake Ellis.
Charles, are we going up to Lake Ellis?
Oh, it slipped out. And I meant it as an anniversary surprise.
Oh, Charles, that's wonderful. When are we going?
This Friday afternoon. I've rented a cabin and a small motorboat on Lake Ellis for the weekend.
Oh, darling, what an exciting surprise. Charles, you're sure it won't be too expensive?
Why, nothing can be too expensive for our first anniversary.
Oh, darling, I've never been so happy.
This looks like a nice place to fish. Let's see, where'd I put that bait?
Here it is, dear.
Thanks, darling. Here's a nice, fat, dimpled worm. Well, if you can't stand to see me bait him, just turn the other way. That's it. It'll only take me a minute.
Charles, look.
Let's wait till I get this.
There's smoke coming out of the engine hatch.
What's that? Yes, you're right.
It's on fire. There are flames shooting out.
Fire extinguishers at the other end of the boat.
Charles, you'd never make it. You'd be burned.
Yes, you're right. Besides, even the extinguisher wouldn't do much good now. The fire's too big.
What are we going to do? Oh, the heat. It's becoming unbearable.
There's only one thing we can do, Julia. Let's go over the side.
We're almost in the center of the lake. I can't swim.
But I can, dear. I'll manage to keep us above water somehow.
Well, all right, darling. I'll do whatever you say.
We'll come through this, Julia. Now, don't be afraid. Now, I'll slip over the side of the boat first, and you follow.
All right.
Now, hurry, Julia. Let yourself down into the water. I'll keep you afloat.
Yes, Charles.
That's it. Now, let go of the side of the boat. I have you.
Yes, Charles.
Now, don't be afraid, darling. You see? It's no trouble keeping you above water. Now, just relax, dear, while I swim with you a bit. We've got to get a good distance from the boat. It may explode.
Yes, Charles. Do you see any boats around?
No, but someone's bound to see the fire and come to our rescue. Until they do, we must have courage.
You're tired, aren't you, Charles?
No. Now, don't worry, dear. I can keep us afloat for a long time yet.
Oh, why doesn't someone come to our rescue?
They will. Someone must surely have seen that boat burning.
But Charles, we've been in the water so long.
Oh, it just seems long, darling. It can't be more than 10 minutes.
10 minutes? It feels more like... Charles!
I've got you, Jimmy. Just for a moment, you slipped away from me.
Oh, darling, it's no use. I'm just a millstone around your neck.
What are you saying?
Why should we both drown? Charles, save yourself.
Save myself?
Yes. I want you to let go of me.
Let go of you? No, never.
Yes, you must. You're too tired to keep going.
No, darling. Either we're both saved or we're both drowned.
Oh, I won't have you throw your life away. Let go of me.
Julia, stop trying to break loose. Julia, darling, don't. I can't live without you. Julia, stop struggling.
Save yourself.
Julia! She's gone. Help, my wife! My wife!
Yeah, we saw it all. Hey, Mike, he's passed out. Get him before he goes under.
I got him. Here, help me get him aboard, Skipper.
All right. Any sign of his wife?
She's gone, Skipper.
Yeah, too bad. Well, if it's the last thing I do, I aim to see justice done to this fella. She never had a chance. Did you see him shove her under? It was murder, that's what it was.
Now, Mr. Foster, both of the men who rescued you claim that as they approached you and your late wife in their boat, they saw you struggling with her. You admit this?
Yes, but I tell you I was trying to save her, not drown her.
No, you were trying to save her. But both the witnesses testify they saw you push her head under.
They're wrong. I wasn't pushing her under. I was trying to bring her to the surface. You must believe me.
Oh, Mr. Foster, you maintain that you were rescuing your wife, not drowning her.
Yes.
Is it true, Mr. Foster, that you were engaged to your wife 11 years ago and that she broke the engagement?
Yes, that's true.
Would you mind telling the jury why she broke the engagement?
We had a misunderstanding.
A misunderstanding? Do you call shooting the woman you're engaged to just a misunderstanding?
No. You must let me explain. It's true that 11 years ago I did shoot Julia, but I've been drinking. I didn't know what I was
doing.
doing.
Mr. Foster, you do admit shooting and wounding her?
Yes.
Have you ever seen this before?
Why, yes. That's the insurance policy I took out for Julia and myself.
Exactly. And when was this policy taken out?
Well, about a month ago.
June 15th, to be exact. And what's the value of this policy, Mr. Foster?
Well, if either my wife or myself died, it provided $10,000 for the survivor.
Yes, Mr. Foster. If either you or your wife died a natural death, it provided $10,000 to the survivor. But there's also a double indemnity clause in this policy, isn't there?
Yes, but
One that provides you with $20,000 if your wife died an accidental death, such as drowning.
Yes, that's true, but I swear I didn't drown my wife. I tell you I was trying to save her. Save her, not drown her. You must believe me. You must. And that, Doctor, is exactly the way everything happened. Strange, isn't it? The way justice works itself out. I committed murder and escaped punishment. Now I'm paying with my life for the death of the one person I really loved.
It's time to go, Foster.
All right, Warden. Goodbye, Doctor. And take good care of Flush, will you?
Of course, Charles. Goodbye.
All right, Warden. I'm ready. Let's go.
This is the mysterious traveler again. Did you enjoy our little trip? Too bad about Charles Foster, wasn't it? As he was strapped into the electric chair, there was an ironic smile on his lips, for he was being executed for something he had not done. But as Charles himself said, justice has a strange way of working itself out. I knew another man once who thought it would be a simple thing to dispose of his wife. Unfortunately, he... Oh, you're getting off here? I'm sorry. But perhaps we'll meet again soon. I take this same train every week at this time.
You have just heard Chapter 64 of The Mysterious Traveler, a series of dramas of the strange and the terrifying. In tonight's story, the case of Charles Foster, Humphrey Davis played Charles Foster, Nancy Sheridan played Julia, and Joan Shea played Agatha. The Mysterious Traveler is written by Bob Arthur and David Kogan, and original music is played by Henry Silburn. The entire production is under the direction of Jock McGregor. Listen next week to a tale titled
Blood Money.
Another tale of the mysterious traveler. The Mysterious Traveler is presented by WOR Mutual from the WOR Studios in New York. This is Mutual.
Mysterious traveler.
This is the Mysterious Traveler, inviting you to join me on another journey into the realm of the strange and the terrifying. I hope you will enjoy the trip, and it will thrill you a little and chill you a little. So settle back, get a good grip on your nerves, and be comfortable, if you can. For tonight, we're going on the strangest journey we've taken yet. We're going down into the dark and fearsome depths of the sea to watch fate settle her accounts with the arch enemy of mankind. In a story I call Death Comes for Adolph Hitler. My story begins in the radio room of the American destroyer Spindrift, on patrol duty somewhere in the Atlantic. It is late at night. Chief radio man Mike Williams, headphones over his ears, is checking on the dozens of messages whispering through the ether. Beside Mike, his relief man, Joe Norman, is sitting back with his feet up, working a crossword puzzle and mournfully humming to himself.
Show me the way to go home. All the time I want to go to bed. My little quart in my
Joe, cut it.
Huh? What is it, Mike?
Cut it, Joe, cut it. I'm getting something. You can just barely hear it.
Something fracture?
Shh, wait. I'm getting it stronger now. There, it's clearer. Holy cow.
Yeah, what is it?
It's a German sub. On the bottom and calling for help.
Ain't that something? Shall I notify the skipper?
No, nothing we can do. Must be hundreds of miles away. Get a pencil on, put on those headphones. We'll take down the message, whatever it is.
Okay, I got a pencil here. I got the phone, is that it? Are you kidding me? I can't hear a thing.
Of course I'm not kidding. I tell you, I had it just now, then it faded out. Wait a minute. It's coming back in again.
Hello? Hello?
is Oberleutnant Reiner, the undersea boat Wolf. Listen to me. Anybody who may be picking up this message, please listen to me. There's nothing anybody can do to help us, but please listen anyway. Makes it easier if I can talk. Easier to face what is coming. Because we are doomed. And we know it. Only yesterday afternoon, as we were cruising on the surface, recharging our batteries, we thought our mission was as good as accomplished. I was up on the conning tower with Captain Metz. With us was our passenger, our very special passenger who called himself Herr Schmidt. Of course, that was not his name, and we all know who he was.
A beautiful day, Herr Captain. Particularly gratifying after our long submersion.
Yes, Your Excellency. Pardon me, Herr Schmidt. But we could take no chances on surfacing until we were safely past the area of Allied patrols.
Of course not, Captain Metz. You must not take the slightest risk, as long as I am aboard.
I am aware of that. Do not worry. You will reach your destination safely. I estimate that tomorrow midnight we will take our contact with the South American coast, and our journey will be over.
Good. Understand, Herr Captain? No word of this trip must ever be breathed to the world, or yourself, or any other member of your crew.
It is understood. You may rest assured. My crew is well trained.
The world must not know or guess that back in the fatherland it is a devil who rules. We have lost, but I shall yet win.
It would be disloyal of me to believe anything else, Herr Schmidt.
South America, I will make my plan. The world will think me dead, suicide, on the day Germany falls. But instead, I will be safely hidden, so I can direct our rebirth.
Quite so.
Our enemies will yet feel the might of my vengeance. I will return to lead my people to victory, however long it may take.
Of course, Herr Schmidt.
Lifeboat, 3 points off the starboard bow. Lifeboat, 3 points to starboard.
Pitching and tossing on the waves ahead of us was a lifeboat. It was crowded with gaunt-faced, bearded men who watched us pull alongside with hostile eyes. A dozen yards from them, Captain Metz ordered the engine to stop. And then as our passenger looked on, his cloak pulled up to conceal his face, Captain Metz questioned the men in the lifeboat.
You're in the lifeboat. Who is in charge?
I am, blast your eyes.
What is your name? What ship? What cargo did you carry? What port were you cleared for?
Captain Peter Jensen of the Mountain. Now at your service. We were a relief ship carrying food and medical supplies to Greece when one of your murdering undersea dogs torpedoed us.
That is all, Captain Jensen. You may pull away now. The nearest land is 300 miles due west of you.
I will pull away. Pull, men. Let's get where we can breathe air not contaminated by this scum.
And then, just as the lifeboat started to pull away, the wind unexpectedly ripped aside the cloak that our passenger was using to conceal his face. And in the lifeboat, Captain Peter Jensen, a burly giant of a man, recognized him.
Men, stop! Stop! You see that slinking rat in the ship of a man trying to hide his face? You know who that is? Take a good look at him so you can tell your children you've seen the murderer of mankind himself. The archdevil who really gave the orders that sent our comrades to the bottom.
I fear you have been recognized, Herr Schmidt.
Stop them! Turn your guns on them! Destroy their boat, Herr Captain! No one must live to report having seen me!
Very well, Herr Schmidt. Forward gun, prepare to fire.
Forward gun, ready to fire.
Give them 2 rounds. Forward gun, fire.
Forward gun, fire. You filthy murdering dogs! So you're going to murder us too? You there on the bridge, listen to me. Every one of us will be waiting for you when your time comes. All of us think you hounds and jackals and murderers. We'll be waiting for you, every one of us. We'll be waiting for you, and someday we'll get you. Remember that. Someday we'll get you. Ah!
They are gone?
Yes, we have finished them. There will be no eyewitnesses to tell of seeing you aboard a submarine in these waters, Herr Schmidt.
That is good. Well, never know. That I had left Germany. But never guess. The whole future, the fatherland. What is that sound?
Bomber. Patrol bombers coming this way. Get below at once. We are going to submerge. What is our depth now, Muller?
75 feet, sir.
Good. Then we should...
The bomb! They're coming closer!
Oh, they have lost us. They are bombing at random now. Yes, we are safe now. Depth, Muller.
90 feet, sir.
90 is good enough. Level her.
Level her, sir.
We will take course 180 and... Level her, I said. We are still making a 5-degree dive.
The leveling planes do not respond, sir. We are damaged! The bombs have damaged, sir!
Impossible. Not one of those bombs was close enough to break an egg. Muller, our depth.
100 feet, sir.
Lieutenant Ryder, order half speed ahead.
Half speed ahead?
The ship's a hand operation of the diving plane.
Hand operation of the diving plane, sir.
Now level her.
Level her, sir.
Well, what's the matter?
Captain, the operating wheel. It will not turn. Not turn?
Diving planes must be jammed, sir.
They will not move. Not at all. Captain, miss! I demand that you rise to the surface. Something is wrong. Am I safe?
Silence. I am captain of this vessel, and I am giving the order. Very well. Our leveling planes are jammed. We will surface and clear them. Miller, depth.
120 feet, sir.
Stop, Major.
Load the forward ballast tanks.
Load the forward ballast tanks, sir.
Now our bow is coming up. They are leveling off, sir. Hold her as she is.
Hold her as she is, sir.
Muller.
Yeah, Major.
How fast are we going up?
We are not rising at all, sir.
Not rising?
No.
With the motors off, we must be.
We should be. But we are still descending at about 20 feet a minute, Captain. Captain, I demand to know what's wrong. I order you, take me to the surface.
I am just as interested in reaching the surface as you are, Herr Schmidt. Blow the main ballast tank until we start to rise.
Blow the main ballast tank until we start to rise.
For 1 hour we struggled to reach the surface, but without success. We still continued paddling to the bottom. It was unreal, unbelievable, impossible. The crew stared at each other. They dared not speak and feel loud. Our illustrious passenger raved and ranted at Captain Metz, screeching about his safety until Metz ordered him to escape under pain of being dragged there. We continued with our efforts to raise the submarine to the surface until abruptly Seaman Muller cried a warning.
Captain Metz, there are destroyers aboard.
Destroyers?
2 of them. I just picked them up on the phone. They seem to be circling us.
Silence the motors. Stop all pumps. Destroyers, eh? Lieutenant Reiner.
Yes, sir?
What depth does the chart show?
Depth? 50 fathoms with gravel bottom, sir. But there's a fault in the ocean there just east of our position. A crevice, 1,000 feet deep, sir.
We are safely beyond that. Muller, our depth?
200 feet, sir.
Our rate of descent?
10 feet a minute, sir.
But our main tanks are empty, sir. We should be going up, not down.
Nevertheless, we are going down. And as long as we are, we will bottom and lie quiet until the destroyers leave. Then we will surface for repairs. Muller.
Yes.
What are the destroyers doing?
They seem to be still circling, sir. Perhaps they are trying to pick us up when they detect us.
We must see that they fail. Our depth?
220 feet, sir. It's almost as if...
As if what?
Nothing, sir.
Go on. As if what?
Excuse me, sir. I was going to say as if something was pulling us down.
But you thought better of saying it.
Yeah.
See that you continue to think better of such remarks. The same applies to everyone on board. Lieutenant Reiner.
Yes, sir?
We will bottom in exactly 7 minutes. Prepare to make an inspection of the ship when we do.
Lieutenant Rainer?
I have finished the inspection, sir.
And your report?
Everything is in perfect order, sir. There are no leaks. The batteries are fully charged. All motors in working order. All pumps operating.
Then obviously there's no reason why, when we choose to surface, we should not do so.
No, sir.
Muller, what about the bloodhounds who are trying to sniff us out on the surface? Those destroyers.
I have heard no propeller sound for 20 minutes, sir.
Then we will surface. Load the auxiliary tank.
Load the auxiliary tank, sir. All remaining auxiliary tanks are empty, sir.
All tanks empty. Captain, your pardon, do you hear? They have blown all our tanks and we have not risen at all.
I am well aware of it, Lieutenant Rainer. You take me for an imbecile?
No, sir. Of course not, sir. It is so that it is impossible, sir.
Since it is so, it must be possible. Obviously, we are stuck in a mud bottom.
But the bottom here is gravel, sir. The chart.
Yes, sir. The chart is wrong. I say it is mud, do you hear?
Yes, sir. Mud, sir.
And so we shall have to use our motors to pull ourselves free. Signal full speed ahead.
Yes, sir.
Full speed ahead.
They are not moving, sir.
Now what is it? Why have the fools cut the motors?
Excuse me, sir. Engine room reporting.
Yes.
What is it?
Well, what have the idiots to say for themselves?
They say the propeller is fouled.
Fouled? How could it be fouled? It is impossible for it to become fouled on this bottom.
Yes, sir. They say it is not entirely fouled. It will turn, but only very slowly. As if...
As if what?
Well, sir, they say it turns as if something were holding it, trying to keep it from revolving.
The fools. When we get back to our base, I shall court-martial every man aboard. Perhaps the propeller is tangled with some seaweed. That is all. In that case, we may be able to reverse and free it. Full speed astern.
Full speed astern.
Well, now what?
Your pardon. The engine room reports propeller is still fouled, sir. It behaves as it did before. It turns, but as if something is holding it back.
And to think that I, Hans Ludwig von Metz, thought I had the finest submarine crew in the world. A brainless pack of idiots who become stuck in the mud on the bottom and they go to pieces like old women. Now listen to me, all of you. The next man who shows... Captain Metz. Herr Schmidt. I trust you have not been lying. Everything is quite under control.
My captain, I've been hearing sounds from outside the submarine.
Sounds? What kind of sounds?
Scratching sounds, tappings on the metal. They sound as if someone is trying to get into the submarine.
My dear Herr Schmidt, you had nothing except the noises made, perhaps by pebbles being swept against our sides by the current. That is all.
But I tell you, it sounds like hands rapping and tapping, scraping at the hull, trying to get in. Why are we staying down here in the bottom? Surface at once, you hear me? I order you surface at once.
That, Your Excellency, is what I am about to do. Now, all respect, may I suggest that you return to your cabin. Your presence here may impede our efforts.
Very well, Captain. But see that you take me to the surface at once.
Have no fear. Lieutenant Rainer, perhaps you will assist Herr Schmidt to his cabin.
Yes, sir. Certainly. If I may open the door for your Excellency.
Captain Metz.
Well, what is it?
Captain, we hear them too. Sounds coming from outside our hull.
I hear no sounds.
Captain, I can hear them now. Quite plainly, on my detector phone. It is not possible to identify them, but they sound as if many people were climbing up our sides and...
There. Perhaps that will bring you to your senses. Listen to me, all of you. Temporarily, we are stuck in the mud. The current is sweeping debris or pebbles against us. You are all acting like children who think they see a ghost in a graveyard. In an hour, we shall be on the surface. You have my word for it. To get free from the mud, I shall fill the bow tanks, then blow them and fill the stern tanks. We shall seesaw ourselves loose. Do you all understand my scheme? Very good. Load the forward ballast tanks.
Load the forward ballast tanks, sir.
Captain Nitz. Yes, Lieutenant Reiner? The main pumps are again operating, sir. The failure was caused by Hans Jäger. Jäger? How? He went crazy, committed suicide by grabbing the poles of the main switch. The short circuit electrocuted him, blew out the fuses. Jäger was always a fool. How have the others reacted to his death? Very badly, sir. They are very nervous. Nervous, are they? Yes, sir. That scraping and scratching outside our hull has affected them, sir. It has stopped for now, but the crew says that it's just because they are planning something else. They? Who do you mean by they? The crew says, sir, that there are hundreds of men in the water outside trying to get in at us. Dead men, sir. Lieutenant Reiner, do you wish me to place you under arrest? No, sir. I'm just trying to explain the state of the mind of the crew, sir. In spite of all our efforts, they are still on the bottom, and the men are getting very jumpy, sir. I shall have to teach them a lesson they will not forget. They are taking their cue from our illustrious passenger, of course. If he had not come out here with his ranting and raving... Never mind that. He's quiet now. I gave him whiskey with a sedative in it. Your pardon, Captain. If I may make a suggestion... Well, what is it? There is one thing they have not tried. Huh? They have to try it, sir. Discharge our torpedoes. Discharge our torpedoes? A submarine without torpedoes, Lieutenant, is no more use than an airplane without wings. But we must, sir. We have 10 torpedoes aboard. 25,000 pounds of dead weight. Get rid of that, and we have to rise. We have to. I see you are beginning to share the hysteria of the crew. When we return to our base, I shall not fail to include that fact in my report. However, I accept your suggestion. Order the discharge of our torpedoes to begin at once. Yes, sir. At once.
It's no use, I tell you. It's no use. We are going down, Adolph. Down.
Yeah. What? What's going on here? You men mumbling about. Why did not discharge the rest of the torpedoes?
You know what is going on here, Herr Lieutenant. We have fired 6 torpedoes to lighten ship, and what has happened? We are sinking deeper.
He is right.
Yes, we are going deeper. Our blades will not stand it. We shall be crushed, thrown like rats in a trap.
We are not going deeper. We have come to a stop already. And even if we should slide a little further, we still have a margin of safety of at least 100 feet. The very fact we have moved proves we are breaking free from the mud.
No, it is not true. We are not stuck in the mud. We are not.
That man? No more of that.
No more of that. Why should I? Be quiet. We all know we are not at any much. We all know our tanks are empty, and we should have been on the surface long ago. We all know why our propellers will not turn, and we all know why we cannot rise through. Because we are being held down. We are being held down by 1,000 dead men who are crawling all over us, scratching at our plates, trying to get in. They have come from all over the 7 seas just to hold us down, just to see we do not get away. Listen to them. Listen. You can hear them now. Listen.
Ah, what nonsense. Burton, come to your senses. It's only our planes groaning under pressure.
That is not true. You know better. We all know better. Who dragged us down here to the bottom? Whose hands are keeping our propellers from turning? Whose bodies jammed our diving planes? Whose weight is keeping us on the bottom? The death.
Burton, I order you to be quiet.
It is too late for orders. There is only one way we can escape. That is to give the ones outside the man they want. They want our passenger, the one who calls himself Herr Schmidt. We all know who he is, and so do they. And they have come to get him.
Burton, you are under arrest.
Listen, all of you. Let us get this Herr Schmidt with his funny mustache. Put him in a torpedo tube and send him out to the deck, outside. Let them have him. Then they will let us go free. It is our only hope.
Burton.
Captain Metz.
I heard your interesting little speech just now. And this is my answer. Does anyone else want the same medicine to bring him to his senses? Then to your stations. Lieutenant Reiner, continue to discharge our torpedoes.
That was 4 hours ago. We have discharged all our torpedoes, and we are still on the bottom. Every few minutes we slip a little closer to the 1,000-foot chasm in the seabed. Very soon, inevitably, we will slip over the edge right into it. The whole submarine is filled with a great rustling and scratching, as though thousands of hands were clawing at it, tugging at it, pulling it toward that chasm. The crew truly believes that we are being slowly but surely dragged toward it by the dead. By the thousands of dead who have gathered outside, drawn here by their hatred for our passenger. A hatred which is so great even death cannot quench it. I don't know. Perhaps they are right. Certainly our passenger believes it himself. He's in the next cabin. Captain Metz has locked him in. Perhaps if I hold this microphone into which I'm speaking close to the bulkhead, you can hear him. Commandant Metz! Do something! I order you to do something! They are outside! They're throwing at the water to get at me! Captain! I order you to save me! I order you to! You must! You cannot let me die! Oh, that is enough. It makes an unlovely spectacle, our passenger, as death approaches. As for me, I have locked myself in the radio room here, after sending the radio men away. Though no one can save us, there is still some comfort in knowing that somewhere some human ear is hearing me. At least I do not feel so much alone down here at the bottom of the sea. Another lurch, then. It is truly as if many hands were remorselessly pulling us towards our doom. The hands of the dead. Oh, this is a fantastic thought. Yet when one is hated as our illustrious passenger is hated, by hundreds of millions of the living, and tens of millions of the slain, well, who can tell? I do not know, but I do know this. Just a moment ago, a sharp tapping came on our hull, as if someone was tapping against it with a rock. Oh, if you may say it was the submarine sliding over rocks on the bottom. But listen to me, and listen carefully. This is the truth. That tapping was in the international code. It was a message. A message from someone outside our submarine at a depth of 400 feet. What does it say? Another lurch. Now we are sinking fast. In a moment, our hull will cave in like an eggshell. But first, I must tell you the message. I do not ask you to believe me, but the message was this. We are waiting for you, Adolf Hitler. We are waiting.
This is the mysterious traveler again. Is that the true story of the death of the world's arch enemy, Adolf Hitler? I do not know, so I cannot tell you. The man who told it to me, perhaps he was joking. You can say. You must make up your own mind. But it is interesting to think about, isn't it? Yes, very interesting. It reminds me of another strange story I heard recently. Oh, you're getting off at the next stop. I'm sorry. But perhaps we'll meet again soon. I take this same train every week.
It's time.
You have just heard Chapter 66 of The Mysterious Traveler, a series of dramas of the strange and terrifying. In tonight's story, death comes for Adolf Hitler. Tony Barrett played Lieutenant Reiner, Philip Clarke played Captain Metz, and Lon Clarke played Adolf Hitler. The Mysterious Traveler is written by Bob Arthur and David Kogan, and original music is played by Henry Silverne. The entire production is under the direction of Jock McGregor. Listen next week to a tale titled Murder Goes Free. Another tale of the Mysterious Traveler. The Mysterious Traveler is presented by WOR Mutual. This is Mutual.